Now I feel undone.
What's up, guys? Welcome back. So today, as usual, I'm going to be priming my eyelids with the MAC Pro Longwear Concealer and following up with the MAC Prep and Prime 24-Hour Extended Eye Base, just tapping that on my eyelids with my finger, and then setting that with my Naked Basics palette in the shade W.O.S. I prefer to set my base. It just helps the shadows that we use later go on much smoother. Now I'm taking the Naked 2 shade on a fluffy brush and just working this in the upper crease area. I like to work the shade in and like windshield wiper motions and then go in with swirling buffing motions to really blend it out. I am using the Spectrum brushes, which I will list in the description box. My niece got them for me and they are so pretty. So please go check them out if you've never heard of them before. And I am building that color up pretty well. And then I'm taking the shade Faint from the same palette on my MAC 217, which is basically just like a little bit of a denser, fluffier crease brush. And I'm concentrating on the inner and outer corners and going to really build this color up. I wasn't satisfied with the depth from that shade, so I went in with my Violet Voss Holy Grail palette and took the shade Brownie Points and worked this right on top with a pointed crease brush just to add more, warmth and darkness to the look. And then blended that out with that MAC 217 just to make sure that shade was nice and blown out. Then I went in with Teddy Bear from the Holy Grail palette and worked that right on top. I love these matte shades. They are just super rich in color and very smooth, and I really wanted to add a lot of dimension to the crease, so I added that shade on top and it worked perfectly. And again, we're doing the windshield wiper motions and then really buffing the edges to blend it out. And then I took that first blending brush we used just to buff out all the edges and make sure everything looks nice and seamless. For my lid, I'm taking Cranberry Splash from the Holy Grail palette and adding some more of that MAC base on my eyelids. I sprayed my brush with some Fix Plus and then tapped the metallic shade right on top of the base while it is still wet. I've talked about this a few times on my channel, but I do have hooded eyes and have issues with transferring. So basically, if I do this, the metallic shade will kind of stay put a little bit more and won't transfer into my matte crease as much. I wanted to add a little bit more depth, so I went in with that Crave shade from the Urban Decay Naked Basics palette just to add a little bit more darkness. I had my Batman shirt on. I was going to see Suicide Squad. I was just trying to be a little dark. And then for liner, I'm taking my favorite Kat Von D Tattoo liner, and this has always been pretty hard for me to capture on camera because I have to be so close to a mirror. So I usually just do like kind of a rough sketch in front of the camera and then turn it off and get really close to my mirror and really tidy things up. But basically I just draw a line really close to my lash line on my lid, flick a line up towards the end of my brow, and then connect those two lines. I just love this tattoo liner by Kat Von D. The applicator is just very easy for me. It's very flexible and user friendly. And for my skin, I had already primed with the Makeup Forever Nourishing Primer, and then I went in with my Dr. Brandt Pores No More in my T-zone area, which I typically do to hide pores. The foundation I use is the Makeup Forever Ultra HD foundation. This is the liquid version, and I absolutely love this foundation. I fell in love all over again. I had to put my hair up because it was in the way. But I am applying this with my Real Techniques Beauty Sponge, which is my absolute favorite method for adding foundation. And then for highlighting and concealing, I'm taking my MAC Pro Longwear Concealer and running it down the sides of my nose, underneath my eyes in the kind of upside down triangle motion, down the center of my nose, on my chin, and in between my brows. If it looks like I'm adding a lot of product, it's because I am. I just prefer to add a generous amount of product and then blend it in with a beauty sponge, which does soak up product. I don't know why, but that's just the way I like to do it. If you don't like to do it, you don't have to. Do you, boo boo. To set that concealer, I'm taking my favorite powder. This is a L'Oreal Mercier Secret Brightening Powder, and just adding this underneath my eyes. I didn't mean to bake, but sometimes I just do it without even thinking about it. I do notice my highlight is a little bit more like popping if I don't bake, so I've been trying not to do it as much, but it just happened on accident, so that's what we're doing. And then I took my Coty Airspun Loose Face Powder and I baked my forehead. This is kind of new for me, but I've been loving it. And then I set the rest of my face with my L'Oreal Infallible powder, which is almost gone. But I've just been setting my forehead a little bit more than usual because it's really been helping me not get those like foundation lines in my forehead. And then I just went ahead and buffed away that powder. It just keeps my forehead looking nice and smooth because I make really crazy facial expressions and then like my forehead looks all like old lady. And then I took my Kat Von D Shade Light palette and I'm taking that middle shade Shadow Play just to start warming up my skin. I also went ahead and started dusting off my bakeage. I didn't want it to sit too long, so I just went ahead and dusted it off. My face was just a little dry that day. And then I went back in, bronzing up the skin. I like to hit the forehead pretty good because it is large and in charge. And I'm using another one of those Spectrum brushes. I really do like them. They are just really soft and they're really, really cute. I just like having them on my vanity. So thank you, Vanessa. I appreciate you so much. Don't forget that jawline. And I'm throwing some just on the sides of the nose. I went in with this natural hair contour brush by Morphe just to add a little bit more dimension. And then of course my camera cut off my absolute favorite part, which is highlighting. So we've seen that a million times. We'll skip it today. But I just went in with my blush. This is the shade Hush from the Urban Decay Gwen Stefani palette. And just pop this on my cheeks with this really nice Morphe brush. It's the Gunmetal collection. And then just blended out the edges. And then I went in with my Coty Airspun Loose Face Powder and added on my baked beard. I just love doing this. It just keeps my contour looking nice and sharp. I just let that powder sit and then we will dust it off later. I added my Cocoa lashes in the style Goddess. And then I went in with highlight. This is the Crushed Pearl highlight. Same one I used for my face. I added some setting spray and put it on my inner corners. And I also tapped a little bit more on the tip of my nose and on my Cupid's bow. I just love these areas to be really nice and bright. I'm pretty fair, so I add a lot of highlight. I also added some on the very kind of peak of my brow bone to add a little bit of light. And then set my brows with this kind of clear mascara from Maybelline. It's not my favorite, but I have it, so that's what I'm using. I love the one from Anastasia. It's really good. And then I'm going back in with a faint shade from Urban Decay. Just going to start adding some color on the lower lash line. And then I've darkened that up, mixing Brownie Points and Teddy Bear from the Holy Grail palette. Just to deepen it up and make sure it matches our lid. Or not lid, crease, whatever. And then blended that out with a fluffier brush. And now that our baked beard is nice and cooked, I'm going to dust all that powder off with a duo fiber brush. I kind of kept a lot of this clip just to let you see how much I really dust this powder off. And then as always, I'm setting my face, and today I use the Urban Decay All Nighter Spray and just taking a quick little bath in this. I love using setting sprays. If you've never tried one, please just try one. It will be amazing. And then, as always, I'm adding my L'Oreal Telescopic Carbon Black Mascara to my lower lashes. This is my absolute favorite mascara. And then for lips, I added MAC's Flesh Pot, which is pretty nude, so I did go in with a lip liner just on the edge to give a little bit of definition. This is just like a really cheap lip liner from Essence. I think it's in the shade like Natural or something. And then went in with the Lorac Gloss. I don't remember the name, but I'll put it in the description. It's just like a really nude gloss. But that's it, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I always appreciate it. Please be sure to subscribe. I have a really exciting video coming up soon, so be on the lookout for that. Be sure to leave me a comment and like this video if you liked it, and I will see you in my next video. Bye, guys. Bill, can you bring me a beer, please?
Say what?
Can you bring me a beer?
Oh, you don't have any beer.
That's why I said a beer, not my beer. So jacked up on coffee, I can't get my hands to stop shaking, so maybe if I combat it with a downer, it will work.
I don't think that's how it works.
How was your day?
Just moderately terrible.
Oh no.
Oh, balls. No, you can't have a beer. I done told you.
This is a bitch-free zone in here. No whining. I don't understand.